How does a father react when his own son tells him not to attend the wedding, then watches his money disappear overnight? I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I closed the accounts I legally controlled. The next morning, they were standing at my door, desperate to talk. But before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The text arrived on a Tuesday evening while I was finishing dinner. Just me, a plate of reheated pasta, and the kind of silence that settles into a house when you've lived alone for years. The kitchen smelled like garlic and old habits. My phone buzzed on the counter. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and picked it up. Mason, my son. "Hey, Dad, need to talk about the wedding." I set the phone down and took another bite, waited. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, the message came through. "Marina and I have been talking. We think it's best if you don't come to the ceremony. She's uncomfortable with you being there. Hope you understand." I read it twice, then a third time. No preamble. No apology. Just a flat statement delivered like a weather update. I picked up my fork, put it down, then read the message again. The words didn't change. My son was uninviting me to his wedding because his fiancée didn't want me there. Not because of a fight, not because of some dramatic falling out, just because she was uncomfortable. I typed a response. "I understand. Congratulations to both of you." Sent. The 3 dots appeared immediately. "Thanks for being cool about it." Cool about it? I set the phone face down on the counter and went back to my pasta. It had gone cold. I ate it anyway, chewing slowly, staring at the wall calendar across from me. June 12th was circled in red. The wedding date. I'd requested time off work 2 months ago, bought a new suit, even picked out a gift, something tasteful and expensive that was still sitting in my closet, wrapped and ready. Now none of that mattered. I finished eating, washed my plate, and sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop. Opened my banking app. Routine check, something I did every few nights. But tonight, I looked at it differently. There were 4 accounts under my name. 2 were mine. The other 2 were linked to Mason, joint access. I'd set them up years ago when he was in college, a safety net in case he ever needed emergency funds. Over time, they'd become his primary accounts. Rent came out of one, his credit card was linked to the other. I covered the balances each month without thinking much about it. $1,200 here, $1,800 there, sometimes more. A notification banner slid across the screen. Reminder: you have multiple authorized dependents across your accounts. Review your account structure to ensure it reflects your current needs. I stared at it. Current needs. I closed the laptop and went to bed. Sleep didn't come easily. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying the message in my head. The casual dismissal, the assumption that I'd just accept it without question. And I had accepted it. That was the part that sat wrong. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30 like always, made coffee, toasted bread, sat in the same chair and opened the same apps. My routine hadn't changed in years. Stability, predictability, the kind of life people call boring until they realize how much effort it takes to build. I scrolled through my messages. Nothing from Mason, nothing from Marina. Just a few work emails and a reminder about a logistics meeting later that afternoon. I thought about the text again, the casual tone, the assumption that I'd just accept it, and I had accepted it. That was the part that wouldn't let go. I wasn't angry. Anger would have been easier. This was something colder. A recognition that the relationship I thought I had with my son wasn't the one that actually existed. He saw me as a resource, a safety net, an obligation he could manage from a distance. Not a father, not someone worth including. I finished my coffee and got dressed. Wednesday, normal day. I had reports to review and a conference call at 10. The logistics company where I worked ran smoothly because I made sure it did. 30 years in the same industry. I knew how to keep things moving. People underestimated me all the time. Quiet guy, doesn't talk much, keeps his head down. They weren't wrong. I did keep my head down, but that didn't mean I wasn't paying attention. I drove to the office, parked in my usual spot, and took the elevator to the executive floor. My desk was in the corner, away from the open plan chaos where the younger employees worked. I liked it that way. Fewer distractions, more control. Victor Hale was already at his desk when I walked past, senior financial advisor. We'd worked together for almost a decade. He glanced up, gave me a nod, and went back to his screen. Victor was the kind of guy who noticed things but didn't ask questions unless they mattered. I sat down, logged into my computer, and pulled up the quarterly reports. Numbers, shipments, timelines. Everything lined up the way it was supposed to. My department didn't have problems because I didn't let problems grow. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Mason again. By the way, we're finalizing the guest list today. Let me know if you want us to send anything to your address for the registry. I stared at the message. He'd uninvited me yesterday. Now he was asking if I wanted to contribute to the registry. I didn't respond. An hour later, another message. Also, Marina's parents are covering most of the venue costs, but we're still short on the catering deposit. Any chance you could help out? Would really appreciate it. I set the phone down. He wasn't asking. He was assuming. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Meetings, emails, phone calls. I went through the motions, but my mind was somewhere else, turning things over, examining them from different angles. That night, I sat in my home office with a stack of folders I hadn't touched in years. Tax documents, account statements, legal paperwork from when I'd first set up the joint accounts. I spread them across the desk and started reading. Everything was in order. My name, my responsibility, my authority. Mason had access, but I held control. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. The house was quiet again. It was always quiet. But tonight, the silence felt different, focused. I wasn't planning anything yet, just organizing, making sure I understood the landscape. The wedding was 3 weeks away. I pulled up a document on my computer, a spreadsheet I'd created years ago to track household expenses. I updated it regularly, adding new entries, categorizing spending, keeping everything neat and transparent. I scrolled down to the section labeled Mason Support. The numbers went back 8 years, every payment, every transfer, every balance I'd covered. College tuition, $47,000, rent and deposits, $32,000, car payments and insurance, $18,000, credit card balances, $21,000, miscellaneous expenses, $14,000. Total, $132,000. I sat there, staring at the number. $132,000 over 8 years, and now I wasn't even invited to his wedding. I closed the spreadsheet and shut down the computer. Then I went to bed. I didn't used to think about money as a form of control. To me, it was never leverage or power. It was support. Responsibility, parenting. The quiet, unspoken agreement that if you brought a child into the world, you helped them get started in it. You gave them a foundation, you caught them when they stumbled. That was just what you did. Mason graduated from college 8 years ago. Business degree. Nothing spectacular on the transcript, no honors, no standout achievements, but he finished, and that mattered to me. I paid for everything, tuition, textbooks, fees they never tell you about up front, rent for a small studio apartment just off campus so he wouldn't have to commute. He worked part-time at a cafe, but that income disappeared into weekends, dinners out, and whatever passed for a social life at that age. I never questioned it. I never asked him to contribute more or pay me back. That was never the point. When he graduated, he moved to the city almost immediately. Bigger opportunities, he said, faster pace. He landed an entry-level job at a marketing firm. Decent salary on paper, but nowhere near enough to fund the version of adulthood he imagined for himself. So, again, I helped. First month's rent, security deposit, a couch, a bed, a dining table he barely used. When his old car finally quit, I helped with that too. Just until I get on my feet, he told me. That phrase sounded reasonable at the time. That was 6 years ago. The marketing job didn't last. Neither did what came after. A startup that promised stock options and folded within a year. A sales role he complained about constantly. A consulting arrangement that never quite materialized into real work. Each transition came with gaps. Gaps I quietly filled. Rent when his paycheck ran short. Car payments when commissions didn't come in. Credit card balances that somehow never went down, only shifted from one statement to the next. At first, he always said thank you. He sounded grateful, almost embarrassed. That changed gradually, subtly enough that I didn't notice it happening. Then Marina entered the picture. They met at a networking event 2 years ago. Public relations. That was her field. She had that polished confidence that felt rehearsed but effective, the kind of person who could smile warmly while sizing you up at the same time. Mason was completely taken in from the start. I met her 3 months into their relationship. Dinner at a restaurant she chose. Expensive, understated, the kind of place where prices don't appear on the menu because the people ordering aren't supposed to care. She was pleasant, engaging, asked all the right questions about my work, my interests, my life. But the questions felt procedural, like items on a checklist. Halfway through the meal, she made a comment that stuck with me. Mason says you're in logistics, she said. That must be so stable. I mean, it's not the most exciting field, but I'm sure it pays well. I nodded. It does. That's good, she continued. Mason needs stability. He has big ideas. He just needs the right support system. Support system. I didn't respond. I finished my steak. Let the conversation drift to safer topics. But something about the way she said it lodged itself in my mind. After that dinner, things shifted. Not all at once, but enough that I could feel it. Mason started talking differently. Less about what he wanted to do, more about what Marina thought made sense. She had opinions about everything: his clothes, his job trajectory, what kind of apartment they should live in, even how often he should talk to me. Eventually, those opinions included me. At first, it came through Mason in softened language. Marina thinks I should be more independent. She says I rely on you too much. Maybe I should start handling my own finances. But nothing actually changed. The rent still came out of my account. The credit cards were still paid off before interest could accumulate. Mason talked about independence, but he never practiced it. And Marina didn't seem bothered by the arrangement as long as it stayed out of sight. One conversation from about a year ago still stands out. Mason called me on a Sunday afternoon. His voice was tight, rushed. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something." "What's going on?" "Marina's been pushing for a better place. She thinks our apartment is too small." "Are you planning to move?" "We found one. 2-bedroom. Nice building. Good area. But the rent's $2,400 a month?" I did the math immediately. Nearly double what he was paying. "That's high." "I know, but Marina really likes it. And it would be good for us. More space, better neighborhood." "Can you afford it?" There was a pause, long enough to answer the question without words. "That's the problem," he finally said. "My salary isn't quite there yet. I was hoping you could help with the difference, just for a few months, until I get a raise." "How much of a difference?" "About $800 a month." I closed my eyes. "Mason, that's almost $10,000 a year." "I know, but it's temporary. I'm up for a promotion in the fall. Once that happens, I'll take over completely." "And if it doesn't?" "It will," he said quickly. "My boss basically promised." I should have said no. I should have pointed out that promises don't pay rent, that choosing an apartment you can't afford isn't ambition, it's avoidance. I should have drawn a line right there. Instead, I said, "Okay, I'll help." The relief in his voice was immediate. "Seriously? Dad, thank you. This means everything." "Just be smart about it," I said. "I am. I promise." The promotion never happened. $800 a month became routine. Mason never brought it up again. A few months later, I was in the office break room when Owen Reddick came in. Owen had been in logistics longer than I had. Mid-50s. Calm, observant, the kind of man who spoke only when he meant something. We'd worked together for years. He poured himself a coffee and sat across from me. "You look worn out," he said. "Long week." "Family?" "Something like that." He nodded. "Kids cost more than people expect." "They do? Even when they're grown?" I looked at him. He was staring into his cup, not pushing, just stating reality. "Mason's still leaning on you?" he asked. "More or less." "And Marina?" "They're engaged." He raised an eyebrow. "Congratulations." "Thanks." After a moment, he said, "My daughter did the same thing, moved in with her boyfriend, needed help, said it was temporary." "What happened?" "I stopped paying." I didn't say anything. "She was furious," he continued. "Didn't speak to me for 6 months. But eventually she figured it out. Found better work, learned to budget. She's fine now." "Good for her." He stood up, dumped his coffee, and said, "Sometimes people don't grow up until you force them to." Then he left. I sat there for a long time after that. Mason was 27, educated, capable, smart enough to survive on his own. He just never had to. That night, I went back to my banking app, pulled up the transaction history for Mason's linked accounts, scrolled through months of activity, restaurants, bars, online shopping, subscription services I didn't recognize, a weekend trip to the coast, another one to the mountains, concert tickets, gym memberships, delivery services. None of it was my business, technically, but I was paying for all of it. I added up the last 3 months of expenses, $4,200, not counting rent, not counting his car payment, $4,000 on things he didn't need. I closed the app and sat in the dark for a long time. The wedding was 2 weeks away. The next day, I made a list. Not a plan, just a list. Questions I needed answers to. Who owned the accounts? Me. Who had legal authority? Me. Who could remove access? Me. What would happen if I did? They'd lose their primary funding source overnight. Would it be legal? Yes. Would it be fair? That depended on how you defined fair. I didn't write any of this down, just turned it over in my head. Let it settle. Thursday morning, Mason called. Not a text. An actual call. I answered. Hey, Dad? Hey. So, we're getting close to the wedding. Just wanted to check in. Check in about what? Well, the catering thing. Did you see my message? I did. Silence. So, can you help? I looked out the window. Gray sky. Rain starting to fall. How much do you need? $3,500, maybe $4,000 to be safe. $4,000 for a wedding I wasn't invited to. I'll think about it, I said. Seriously? Dad, we need to confirm by Friday. I said I'll think about it. Another silence. Longer this time. Okay, thanks. He hung up. I set the phone down and went back to work. That evening, I got a text from Marina. First time she'd reached out to me directly in months. Hi, Tanner. Mason mentioned you might help with the catering. Just wanted to say thank you. It really means a lot to both of us. I stared at the message. It really means a lot to both of us. But not enough to invite me to the wedding. I deleted the message without responding. Friday came and went. I didn't call Mason, didn't send the money, just let the deadline pass. Saturday morning, Mason called again. Dad, what's going on? The caterer needs payment today. I decided not to help. What? Why? Because I don't think it's appropriate. Appropriate? Dad, this is my wedding. I know, and I'm not invited. That's separate. Is it? Yes. Marina just wanted a small ceremony. It's not personal. It feels pretty personal. Dad, please. We need this money. Then find another way to get it. There is no other way. We're already maxed out on everything. That's not my problem. Are you serious right now? Completely. He hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone. My hands were steady. My breathing was calm. For the first time in weeks, I felt clear. The parking garage under the office building was always empty in the evenings. I liked it that way. Fluorescent lights, concrete pillars, the hum of ventilation systems, a place where thoughts echoed without interruption. I sat in my car after work on Monday, engine off, just staring at the dashboard. My phone was on the passenger seat. No new messages. Mason hadn't followed up about the catering deposit. Probably assumed I'd cave eventually, like I always did. I picked up the phone and opened the messages anyway, scrolled back through the last year. Hey, Dad, can you spot me for rent this month? Credit card got declined. Can you cover it until I get paid? Marina and I are looking at apartments. Need help with the deposit? Car insurance is due. Mind taking care of it? Every message was the same, a request phrased as a casual favor. No acknowledgement of the pattern. No recognition that this had been going on for years. And my responses? Sure. No problem. I'll take care of it. Every single time. I closed the app and sat there in the silence. The text about the wedding hadn't come out of nowhere. It was the logical endpoint of a relationship that had been eroding for a long time. I'd been funding Mason's life while slowly being erased from it. Marina didn't want me at the wedding because I represented something she didn't like. Maybe it was my age. Maybe it was my steady, unglamorous career. Maybe it was just the fact that I existed as a reminder that Mason wasn't as independent as he pretended to be. Whatever the reason, she'd drawn a line, and Mason had chosen her side. I started the car and drove home. My house was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. A kitchen that hadn't been updated since the 90s. I'd bought it 20 years ago, back when Mason was still in elementary school. His mother had left a year later, decided she wanted something different, someone different. I didn't fight her on it, just signed the papers and kept moving forward. Mason stayed with me, I did my best. Cooked meals, helped with homework, showed up to school events even when I didn't understand half of what was going on. I wasn't the fun parent, I was the stable one. The one who made sure the lights stayed on and the bills got paid. And for a long time, that seemed like enough. Now I wasn't sure what it had added up to. I unlocked the front door and went straight to my home office. Small room, desk, filing cabinet. A window that looked out onto the backyard. I kept everything organized. Tax returns going back 15 years. Insurance documents, legal paperwork. I opened the filing cabinet and pulled out a folder labeled Accounts Mason. Inside were copies of the forms I'd signed when I first set up the joint accounts. His signature was there too, from when he'd turned 18, and we'd made it official. But the primary account holder was listed as me, the responsibility, the authority. I flipped through the pages. Authorization to add secondary user, granted. Authorization to remove secondary user, granted. No cosigner required, no waiting period. Just my name and my decision. I closed the folder and set it on the desk. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up my email. Scrolled back to a conversation from 3 years ago. Ellen Cross, corporate legal counsel. We'd worked together on a contract dispute, and she'd given me some advice about personal financial structures during a coffee break. If you're the primary account holder, you have full discretion, she'd said. Adding someone is a courtesy, not a contract. You can remove them any time for any reason. I'd nodded and filed the information away, not thinking much about it. Now I thought about it a lot. I didn't email Ellen. Not yet. Just reread the old conversation and made a mental note. The wedding was 10 days away. Tuesday came. Mason didn't call. I went to work, sat through meetings, reviewed reports, everything normal. Victor stopped by my desk around 3 in the afternoon. Got a minute? He asked. Sure. He pulled up a chair. I'm reviewing some of the company's benefit structures. Noticed you've been with us for 30 years. That's right. You've got a solid portfolio. Pension, retirement accounts, everything's set up well. Thanks. He leaned back. You ever think about simplifying things? A lot of people carry financial obligations that don't serve them anymore. Old accounts, dependents who don't need to be listed, that kind of thing. I looked at him. You giving financial advice now? Just an observation. He stood up. Let me know if you ever want to talk through it. He walked away. I sat there, staring at my screen. Victor knew. I wasn't sure how, but he knew. That evening, I drove past the building where Mason and Marina lived. 12-story complex, modern, glass and steel, expensive. I parked across the street and looked up at the windows. Their apartment was on the 7th floor, lights were on. I wondered what they were doing. Planning the wedding, probably, picking out flowers, finalizing seating charts, all the things that came with a ceremony I wouldn't attend. I sat there for 20 minutes, just watching. Then I drove home. Wednesday night, I made a decision. Not an emotional one, a practical one. I pulled up the contact information for my bank, found the customer service number, wrote it down on a sticky note and stuck it to my desk. Then I sat down with a legal pad and started writing. Not a letter, not a speech, just notes. Points I wanted to remember. Mason is 27. Mason has a college degree. Mason has work experience. Mason is capable of supporting himself. Mason chose to exclude me. Mason still expects my money. These two things cannot coexist. I read the notes 3 times. Then I folded the paper and put it in my desk drawer. Thursday morning, I called the bank. The automated system picked up. I navigated through the menu options until I reached a live representative. Good morning. How can I help you today? I have a question about joint account structures. Of course. Can I have your account number? I gave it to her. Thank you, Mr. Jossman. What's your question? I'm listed as the primary account holder on 2 accounts. There's a secondary user with access. I want to confirm what my options are if I decide to remove that access. Absolutely. As the primary account holder, you have full authority to add or remove secondary users at any time. You can do that online, over the phone, or in person at any branch. Are there any restrictions? Not as long as you're the primary holder. The secondary user will lose access immediately once the change is processed. What about funds that are already in the account? Those remain under your control. The secondary user won't be able to withdraw or transfer anything after access is removed. And what kind of notification does the secondary user receive? They'll get an email and a text message letting them know their access has been revoked. Standard procedure. How long does the process take? If you do it online or over the phone, it's immediate. In-branch processing can take up to 24 hours, but usually it's same day. Understood. Thank you. Is there anything else I can help with today? No, that's all. I hung up. Simple, clean, no drama required. I didn't make any changes that day. Just confirmed that I could. The wedding was 8 days away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. What would happen when Mason lost access? His rent payment would bounce. His credit card would get declined. His car payment would fail. He'd panic. Call me. Demand an explanation. And I'd tell him the truth. You excluded me from your life. I'm just making that exclusion complete. I got out of bed around 2 in the morning and went to the kitchen. Made tea, sat at the table in the dark. The house creaked around me. Old pipes, settling foundation, familiar sounds. I thought about all the nights I'd sat here alone, all the years of routine and responsibility, and I thought about Mason, growing up in this house, learning to walk in this kitchen, doing homework at this table. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped being his father and started being his bank. I finished my tea and went back to bed. Friday morning, Mason called. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Yeah. Dad, we need to talk. About what? About the wedding, about everything. I'm listening. Marina feels bad about the way things went down. She wants to apologize. I waited. She didn't mean to hurt your feelings. She was just stressed about the planning. You know how weddings are. I don't, actually. Right. Well, anyway, she wants to make it right. How? She thinks maybe we can work something out. Like maybe you could come to the reception. Not the ceremony, but the party after. I closed my eyes. The reception. Yeah, it's a compromise, you know? You'd still be part of the day. Just not the important part. Dad, come on, don't be like that. I'm not being like anything. I'm just stating facts. So is that a yes? No. What? Why not? Because I'm either part of this or I'm not. I'm not going to show up for the party like some distant relative you felt obligated to include. That's not what this is. Yes, it is. Silence. Fine, he said. Forget I asked. Already forgotten. He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling nothing. The wedding was 6 days away. Monday morning, I went to the bank. Not my usual branch. A different one across town, smaller, quieter. I didn't want to run into anyone I knew. The lobby smelled like new carpet and air conditioning. A woman at the front desk smiled and asked how she could help. I'd like to speak with someone about my account structure. Of course. Let me get an advisor for you. She disappeared into a back office. A few minutes later, a young man in a navy suit came out. Mr. Jossman? I'm David. Come on back. I followed him to a small desk near the window. He pulled up my information on his computer. What can I do for you today? I want to review the accounts I have here, specifically the ones with secondary users. He clicked through a few screens. Looks like you have 2 accounts with joint access, both checking accounts. Primary holder is you, secondary user is Mason Jossman. That's correct. Are you looking to make changes? I'm considering it. I want to understand the process first. He nodded. It's straightforward. If you want to remove the secondary user, I can process that right now. Takes about 5 minutes. The secondary user will receive a notification, but they won't have any ability to reverse it. What kind of notification? An email and a text letting them know their access has been removed. Standard procedure. And there's no waiting period? None. You're the primary holder. It's your account. I leaned back in the chair. What happens to automatic payments that are set up through those accounts? They'll fail once the secondary user loses access. If there are any pending transactions, they'll go through, but nothing new can be initiated. What about checks or debit card purchases? Same thing. Any transactions attempted after access is removed will be declined. And this can be done today? Right now, if you want. I sat there for a moment, considering. Not today, I said, but soon. He nodded. Whenever you're ready. The process is the same. One more question. If I remove access, can I add it back later? You can, but you'd need the secondary user's signature again. It's not automatic. Understood. I stood up. Thank you. He walked me back to the lobby. I sat in my car for a while after that, staring at the bank's front doors. Everything was in place. I had the authority. I had the process. All I needed now was the certainty that this was the right move. I wasn't there yet, but I was close. That afternoon, I scheduled a meeting with Ellen Cross. She worked out of a law firm downtown, glass building, expensive furniture in the waiting area. I'd been there once before, years ago, for a contract review. Her assistant led me to a conference room on the 3rd floor. Ellen walked in a few minutes later. Early 50s, sharp suit, no-nonsense demeanor. Tainer, good to see you. You too. She sat down across from me. What brings you in? I need some clarification on personal account management. All right. What's the situation? I have 2 joint accounts. I'm the primary holder. My son has secondary access. I'm considering removing that access. She nodded. And you want to know if there are any legal implications? Exactly. Are the accounts solely in your name? Yes. And your son is listed as an authorized user, not a co-owner? Correct. Then you have full discretion. You can remove him at any time for any reason. There's no breach of contract, no legal obligation to maintain his access. Even if he's been using the accounts for years? Even then, authorized user status is a privilege, not a right. You granted it. You can revoke it. I exhaled slowly. What about retaliation? Could he argue that I'm withholding support he's entitled to? Is he a minor? No, he's 27. Then no. You have no legal obligation to provide financial support to an adult child. If he tries to make a claim, it won't hold up. She leaned forward slightly. Can I ask what prompted this? He's getting married. I'm not invited. She raised an eyebrow. But he still expects you to fund his life? Apparently. That's bold. That's one word for it. She sat back. Look, I'll be straight with you. What you're considering is completely legal, but it's going to create fallout. Your son will be angry, his fiancée will be angry, there might be family members who take their side. I don't have much family left. Even so, this is the kind of thing that creates permanent rifts. I understand. Do you? Because once you do this, there's no walking it back. He'll remember. So will everyone else. I looked at her. I've spent 8 years funding his lifestyle. $132,000. And now I'm not even worth an invitation to his wedding. If that doesn't create a permanent rift, I don't know what does. She nodded slowly. Fair point. So you're saying I'm in the clear legally? Completely. As long as you're the primary account holder and he's just an authorized user, you can remove him whenever you want. Good. I stood up. One more thing, she said. When you do this, don't explain yourself. Don't justify it. Don't get drawn into an argument. Just state the facts and move on. I'll keep that in mind. And Tainer? Yeah? Make sure this is what you really want. Not what you think you should want. Not what feels fair. What you actually want. I thought about that for a moment. I want my son to understand that respect is a two-way street. Then you know what you need to do. I left the law firm and drove back to the office. The wedding was 5 days away. Tuesday evening, I got a text from Marina. Tainer, I know things have been tense. I want you to know that I never meant to exclude you. The wedding is just really important to me, and I wanted it to be perfect. I hope you can understand. I read the message 3 times. Perfect. A perfect wedding didn't include me. I typed a response. I understand completely. Sent. She didn't reply. Wednesday morning, Owen caught me in the parking garage. Tainer. Hey. You doing okay? You seem distracted lately. Just thinking through some things. Family stuff? Yeah. He nodded. The wedding's coming up, right? This weekend. You going? No. He looked at me. They still expect you to pay for things? They do? And are you? I haven't decided yet. He laughed. Yes, you have. I looked at him. You've already made the decision, he said. You're just working up the nerve to follow through. Maybe. Don't overthink it. You know what needs to happen. Just do it. He got in his car and drove off. I stood there for a moment, then got in my own car. He was right. I'd already decided. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, pulled up my banking app, navigated to the account settings, 2 clicks away. I moved the mouse to the Remove User button, hovered there, then closed the laptop. Not yet. The wedding was 3 days away. Thursday morning, Mason called again. Dad, I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Are you planning to help with the catering or not? Because if you're not, I need to know now. I'm not. Silence. Seriously? Seriously. Dad, this is my wedding. I know. And you're really not going to help? That's right. Why? Because you excluded me from it. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Mason. You're being petty. I'm being consistent. He hung up. I set the phone down and went to work. Friday evening, I sat in my home office and pulled up my banking app one more time. The wedding was tomorrow. Mason and Marina would be getting married at 2 p.m, at a venue I'd never seen, surrounded by people I didn't know, and I'd be here. I clicked on the first account. Selected Manage Authorized Users. Mason's name appeared. I clicked Remove. A confirmation screen popped up. Are you sure you want to remove Mason Josman from this account? This action cannot be undone. I stared at the screen. Then I clicked Cancel, closed the laptop, went to bed. Tomorrow was the wedding, and I still hadn't decided what to do. Saturday morning, 5:30, coffee, toast. The house was quiet. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. No new messages, no missed calls, nothing. Today was the wedding, 2 o'clock, some venue across town, Mason in a tuxedo, Marina in a white dress. A ceremony I wasn't invited to. I finished my coffee and went to my home office, pulled up my laptop, opened my banking app, navigated to the account settings one more time. This was it. I clicked on the first account. Selected Manage Authorized Users. Mason's name appeared. I clicked Remove. The confirmation screen popped up again. Are you sure you want to remove Mason Jossman from this account? This action cannot be undone. I clicked Confirm. The screen refreshed. Mason Jossman has been removed. A notification has been sent to the secondary user. I did the same thing with the second account. 2 clicks, 10 seconds. Done. I closed the laptop and sat there in the silence. My phone buzzed a few minutes later. Mason. What the hell did you do? I didn't respond. Another message. My card just got declined. The bank says I don't have access anymore. Still didn't respond. Dad, call me right now. I set the phone face down on the desk and went to make more coffee. The calls started around 7:30, one after another. Mason, Marina, Mason again, a number I didn't recognize. Marina again. I ignored all of them. Around 8, the text messages started flooding in. This is insane. You're sabotaging our wedding. How could you do this to me? We need that money. Call me back right now. I turned my phone on silent and left it in the office. Then I went for a walk. The neighborhood was quiet. Saturday morning. Most people were still asleep. I walked the same route I always did. 3 miles, around the park, past the elementary school where Mason used to go, back home. The air was cool, sky was clear. It was going to be a beautiful day, perfect weather for a wedding. I got back to the house around 9:30. My phone was still on the desk where I'd left it. 63 missed calls, 47 text messages. I didn't read them, just turned the phone completely off and put it in a drawer. Then I made breakfast, eggs, bacon, orange juice. Sat at the kitchen table and ate slowly. The wedding was in 4.5 hours. I wondered if they'd found a way to fix the catering situation. Probably not. You can't scramble together $4,000 in a few hours, not when your accounts are suddenly frozen. I finished eating and cleaned up, washed the dishes, wiped down the counters, put everything back in its place. Then I went to the living room and turned on the TV. Some documentary about ocean life. I watched it without really paying attention. Around noon, my doorbell rang. I looked at the camera feed on my tablet. Mason, Marina, both of them standing on my porch, looking desperate. I didn't answer. The doorbell rang again, then knocking. Dad, I know you're in there. More knocking. We need to talk. This is important. I sat on the couch and turned up the volume on the TV. The knocking continued for another 5 minutes, then stopped. I looked at the camera feed. They were walking back to their car. Marina was crying. Mason looked like he wanted to destroy something. They drove away. I turned the TV back down and sat there in the silence. 1 o'clock came and went. 1:30. 2 o'clock. The wedding would be starting right about now. I spent the rest of the afternoon reading. An old thriller I'd picked up months ago and never finished. Got through 3 chapters before I lost interest. Around 5, I turned my phone back on. 112 missed calls, 89 text messages, 3 voicemails. I didn't listen to the voicemails, didn't read the texts. Just scrolled through the call log. Mason, Marina, Mason, unknown number, Marina, Mason, Ellen Cross, Mason, Victor Hale, Mason, Owen Reddick. Ellen had left a voicemail, so had Victor. I listened to Ellen's first. Tainer, it's Ellen. I heard what happened. Just wanted to check in. Give me a call when you get a chance. Then Victor's. Hey, it's Victor. No pressure, just making sure you're doing all right. Call me if you need anything. I saved both messages and deleted the rest. Then I opened the text from Mason. You ruined my wedding. I can't believe you did this to us. Marina's parents had to cover everything at the last minute. They think I'm a failure because of you? I'm never speaking to you again. Don't bother reaching out. We're done. I read them all without feeling anything. Then I deleted the entire conversation thread. Did the same with Marina's messages, cleared everything. When I was done, my phone looked almost empty. Just a few work contacts and messages from colleagues. Clean. I made dinner, grilled chicken, salad, sat at the kitchen table and ate in silence. The wedding was over. Whatever had happened, it was done now. And I was fine with that. Sunday morning, I woke up at 5:30 like always. Made coffee, toast, checked the news. My phone stayed quiet. No calls, no messages. I spent the day catching up on work, reviewed reports, answered emails, prepared for Monday's meetings. Normal routine. Around 3 in the afternoon, Owen called. "Hey, Tainer." "Hey. Just wanted to see how you're doing." "I'm fine." "Yeah?" "Yeah." "Good. That's good." Silence. "For what it's worth," he said, "I think you did the right thing." "Thanks. These things are never easy, but sometimes they're necessary." "I know." "All right. I'll let you go. See you tomorrow." "See you." He hung up. I set the phone down and went back to my laptop. Monday came, back to work. Same routine, same desk, same meetings. Victor stopped by around 10. "You doing okay?" he asked. "Fine." "The wedding happened?" "It did." "And?" "And nothing. It happened without me." He nodded. "You seem lighter." "Do I?" "Yeah, like you've been carrying something heavy and finally put it down." I didn't respond. "Anyway," he said, "good to see you." He walked away. The rest of the week passed normally. Work, home, sleep, repeat. No calls from Mason, no messages from Marina, just silence. And I was fine with that. 2 weeks after the wedding, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name and address on the front. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwritten. "Dad, I don't know if you'll even read this. I don't know if you care, but I need to say something. What you did was unforgivable. You sabotaged my wedding. You embarrassed me in front of Marina's family. You made me look like a failure. Marina's parents had to cover everything at the last minute. They paid for the catering. They covered the final venue costs. And now they think I'm irresponsible. They think I can't take care of their daughter, all because of you. You could have just helped. You could have been supportive. But instead, you chose to punish me for something that wasn't even my decision. Marina didn't want you there because she wanted the day to be about us, not about drama, not about family issues, just us. And you turned it into exactly what she was trying to avoid. I'm done, Dad. I'm done asking you for anything. I'm done trying to make this relationship work. Marina and I are moving forward without you. Don't contact me. Don't try to apologize. It's too late for that. Mason. I read the letter twice. Then I folded it and put it in my desk drawer with the other documents. He still didn't get it. Even now, after everything, he still thought this was about the wedding. It wasn't. It was about 8 years of taking without giving, 8 years of expecting support while offering nothing in return. It was about being erased from his life while still being expected to fund it. The wedding was just the moment when I stopped pretending that arrangement made sense. I sat there for a while, thinking about the letter. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up my banking app, checked the balances, confirmed everything was in order. Then I navigated to my account settings and changed my passwords, all of them, bank accounts, email, credit cards, everything. When I was done, I logged out and closed the laptop. That was it, the final cut. A few days later, Ellen called. "Tainer, how are you?" "Fine." "I heard about the letter." I paused. "How did you hear about that?" "Mason tried to contact me, wanted to know if there was any legal recourse for what you did." "And what did you tell him?" "I told him no. You were well within your rights. There's nothing he can do." "How did he take that?" "Not well, but that's not your problem." "No, it's not." She was quiet for a moment. "You doing okay with all this?" "Surprisingly, yes." "Good, that's good. Thanks for the heads up." "Anytime." She hung up. I went back to work. A month passed, then 2. No contact from Mason. No messages from Marina. Just silence. At first, I thought I'd feel something. Regret, maybe, or guilt. But I didn't. I felt lighter, like Owen had said, like I'd been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. Work continued as usual. The Hayes contract was a success. We landed 2 more major clients. My department was running smoothly. Victor and I had lunch one afternoon, just the 2 of us. Some diner near the office. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Do you regret what you did?" I thought about it. "No." "Not even a little?" "Not even a little." He nodded. "Good. You shouldn't." "Why do you say that?" "Because people like Mason, they don't change until they have to. You gave him a reason to change. Whether he takes it or not is up to him. And if he doesn't, then that's on him, not you." We finished lunch and went back to work. 3 months after the wedding, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. Old colleague from a previous job. We'd worked together for a few years, then lost touch when he moved to a different company. We got coffee, caught up on life. "How's your son doing?" he asked. "I don't know." He looked surprised. "You don't know?" "We're not in contact anymore." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. It's for the best." He nodded slowly. "Family stuff is complicated." "It is? You doing okay?" "Better than I've been in years." And I meant it. The conversation moved on to other topics: work, hobbies, plans for the future. When we parted ways, he said something that stuck with me. "You seem different, more relaxed, like you're finally living for yourself." I thought about that for a long time afterward. Living for yourself. For 8 years, I'd been living for Mason, making decisions based on what he needed, structuring my life around his expectations, and now I wasn't. Now I was just living. 4 months after the wedding, I took a vacation. First real vacation in 5 years. Drove up the coast, stayed in a small hotel overlooking the ocean, spent a week reading, walking on the beach, and doing absolutely nothing productive. It was perfect. No phone calls, no emergencies, no one asking me for money, just peace. On the last day, I sat on the hotel balcony and watched the sunset. Thought about Mason. Wondered how he was doing. Wondered if he'd figured things out. Wondered if he ever would. Then I stopped wondering. It wasn't my problem anymore. I packed up and drove home. 5 months after the wedding, Owen invited me to a company event, some networking thing downtown. Normally I'd skip it, but I figured why not. We stood in a corner, drinking overpriced wine and watching people mingle. "You ever hear from your son?" Owen asked. "No." "You miss him?" I thought about it. I miss the idea of him, the person I thought he was. But the reality? No, I don't miss that. Owen nodded. "That's honest. It's the truth. Good for you." We stayed for another hour, then left. On the drive home, I realized something. I didn't think about Mason anymore, not the way I used to. He wasn't a constant presence in my mind, wasn't a source of worry or stress. He was just gone. And I was okay with that. 6 months after the wedding, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Hello? Mr. Jossman? This is Patricia Holt, Marina's mother." I froze. "I'm calling because I think we need to talk." "About what?" "About what happened, about Mason and Marina." "I don't think there's anything to talk about." "Please, just hear me out." I sighed. "Fine, I'm listening." "Mason told us what you did, how you cut off his accounts right before the wedding." "That's correct." "He said you did it to punish him." "He's wrong." "Then why did you do it?" "Because he excluded me from his life while expecting me to fund it. I was correcting that imbalance." She was quiet for a moment. Marina feels terrible about the wedding. She never meant to hurt you. And yet she did. She was stressed. She made a mistake. A mistake she never apologized for. She wants to apologize now. It's too late for that. "Mr. Jossman, please, they're struggling. Mason lost his job last month. They're behind on rent. They need help." And there it was, the real reason for the call. "No," I said. "Excuse me?" I said no. I'm not helping. "But they're family." "Family works both ways, Mrs. Holt. They made it clear I wasn't part of theirs, so they're not part of mine." "That's cold." "That's consistent. Mason is your son. Mason is a 27-year-old man who made his choices. Now he gets to live with them." She started to say something else, but I hung up, blocked the number. Then I sat there, staring at my phone. They were struggling. Good. Maybe now they'd learn. 7 months after the wedding, I started seeing someone. Nothing serious, just coffee dates. Dinners. Conversations. Her name was Diane. 52, worked in accounting, divorced, no kids. She asked about my family one evening over dinner. "I have a son," I said, "but we're not in contact." "Can I ask why?" "He made it clear I wasn't a priority in his life, so I stopped making him one in mine." She nodded. "That must have been hard." "It was necessary." "Do you regret it?" "No." She smiled. "Good. You shouldn't." We kept seeing each other. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, just easy. 8 months after the wedding, Victor retired. There was a party at the office, speeches, cake, the whole thing. I stayed for an hour, then left. Victor caught me in the parking garage. "Tainer, wait." I turned. "I just wanted to say thank you." "For what?" "For being solid. For all these years. You've been one of the best colleagues I've ever worked with." "Thanks, Victor." "And I'm proud of you. For what you did with Mason. That took guts. I don't know about that. I do. Most people would have caved, kept funding him out of guilt or obligation. But you stood your ground. That matters. He shook my hand and walked to his car. I stood there for a moment, then got in my own car and drove home. 9 months after the wedding, I realized something. I was happy. Not just content, not just stable, actually happy. I had a job I was good at, a house that was paid off, a routine that worked for me. I had friends, colleagues who respected me, a woman I enjoyed spending time with. I didn't need Mason. I didn't need his approval or his presence or his acknowledgement. I was fine without him, better even. And that realization didn't hurt. It was just true. 10 months after the wedding, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Dad? Mason. I didn't say anything. Dad, are you there? I'm here. I need to talk to you. About what? About everything, about what happened. I'm listening. He took a breath. I was wrong. About the wedding, about how I treated you, about all of it. I didn't respond. Marina and we've been struggling, really struggling, and I've had a lot of time to think. And I realize now that you were right. I was taking advantage of you. I was treating you like a bank instead of a father. Still didn't respond. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm really sorry. Okay. Okay? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, Mason? I don't know. I thought maybe we could talk, maybe try to fix things. There's nothing to fix. What do you mean? I mean, I've moved on. You made your choice 10 months ago. I'm just living with it. But I'm apologizing. I know. So doesn't that count for something? It would have, 10 months ago, but not now. Dad, please. Goodbye, Mason. I hung up, blocked the number. Then I sat there, staring at my phone. It didn't hurt. It didn't feel like victory. It just felt done. I deleted the call from my log and went back to work. The knock on my door came on a Sunday morning, exactly 1 year after the wedding. I was making breakfast when I heard it. Firm, insistent. I walked to the door and checked the camera. Mason, Marina, and another woman I didn't recognize. I opened the door. What do you want? Mason looked worse than I'd ever seen him. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, clothes that looked slept in. Marina looked just as bad. The third woman stepped forward. Mr. Jossman, my name is Rebecca Winters. I'm a family therapist. Mason and Marina asked me to come with them today. I didn't ask for a therapist. I know, but they're hoping you'll give them a chance to talk. I looked at Mason. You brought a therapist to my house? I didn't know what else to do, he said. You won't return my calls. You blocked my number. Because we have nothing to talk about. Please, Dad, just give me 5 minutes. I looked at all three of them standing on my porch. Then I stepped back and let them in. They sat on the couch. I stayed standing. You have 5 minutes, I said. Mason looked at the therapist. She nodded. Dad, I know I screwed up. I know I treated you badly. I know I took advantage of you for years. Is that what your therapist told you to say? No, it's what I figured out on my own. Keep going. When you cut off the accounts, I was furious. I thought you were being petty and vindictive, but then Marina's parents got involved, and I saw how they looked at me, like I was incompetent, like I couldn't take care of their daughter. He paused. And the thing is, they were right. I couldn't, because I'd never had to. You always bailed me out. And now you want me to bail you out again. No, that's not why I'm here. Then why are you here? Because I want to make things right. I want to have a relationship with you again. I looked at Marina. And what about you? You want that too? She nodded. I do. I was wrong about the wedding. I was wrong about a lot of things. You were wrong about excluding me, but you still expected my money. I know. I'm sorry. I looked at the therapist. And you? What's your role in this? I'm just here to facilitate communication, she said, to help them express what they need to say. They seem to be doing fine on their own. Mr. Jossman, I understand you're angry. I'm not angry. Then what are you? Done. Mason stood up. Dad, please, I'm trying. I can see that. So doesn't that mean something? It means you've learned a hard lesson. Good for you. That's it? What do you want from me, Mason? I want my father back. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He meant it. I could see that. But it didn't matter. Your father was someone who would do anything for you, I said. Someone who would sacrifice his own needs to make sure you had what you wanted. Someone who would fund your life while being erased from it. I know. That person doesn't exist anymore. Then who are you now? Someone who lives for himself. Marina wiped her eyes. So you're really not going to forgive him? I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? I'm saying forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I can forgive Mason for what he did, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let him back into my life. The therapist leaned forward. Mr. Jossman, sometimes people make mistakes. Real growth comes from learning from those mistakes. I agree. Then don't you think Mason deserves a second chance? He's had 8 years of chances. He used every one of them to take advantage of me. People can change. They can. But I don't have to be around to watch it happen. Mason sat back down. So that's it? We're just done? We've been done for a year, Mason. You're just now realizing it. I don't accept that. You don't have a choice. He looked at Marina, then at the therapist, then back at me. What if I pay you back? I almost laughed. Pay me back? Yeah, the money, all of it. What if I pay you back every dollar? With what money? I'll figure it out. I'll get a better job. I'll work extra hours, whatever it takes. That's a nice idea, Mason, but it's not about the money. Then what's it about? It's about respect. It's about being valued. It's about being treated like a person instead of a bank account. I know that now? Good. Take that knowledge into your next relationship. My next relationship? Dad, you're my father. And you're my son. That doesn't change, but it also doesn't obligate me to keep you in my life. The therapist stood up. I think we should take a break. Let everyone cool down. There's nothing to cool down from, I said. We're done here. Mason stood up too. Dad, please. You have 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. Use them if you want. He looked at Marina. She shook her head. They walked to the door. At the threshold, Mason turned back. I love you, Dad. I know you do. Doesn't that matter? It did. Once. He walked out. I closed the door and locked it. Went back to the kitchen, finished making breakfast, ate it slowly. When I was done, I washed the dishes and went for a walk. The sun was out. Birds were singing. It was a beautiful day. I walked my usual route, 3 miles, around the park, back home, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, no second thoughts, just peace. 18 months after the wedding, everything changed. I was at my desk on a Thursday afternoon when my phone rang. Ellen Cross. Tainer, we need to talk. Can you come to my office? When? Now, if possible. It's about Mason. I drove downtown. Ellen was waiting in the same conference room where we'd met before. What's going on? I asked. She slid a folder across the table. Mason filed a lawsuit against you yesterday. He's claiming financial elder manipulation and seeking $132,000 in what he calls owed inheritance advance. I opened the folder. Legal documents, claims, accusations. He's arguing that because you supported him for 8 years, you created a binding financial commitment. That cutting him off was breach of an implied contract. I looked up. Can he do that? He can try. It won't hold up, but he's found a lawyer willing to take the case, probably on contingency. What do I need to do? Nothing yet. I'll handle the response. But there's something else. She pulled out another document. Mason also filed for emergency financial relief, claiming you've been withholding funds that belong to him. He submitted bank records showing all the transfers you made over the years as evidence of an established pattern of support. I sat back. He's using my generosity against me. That's exactly what he's doing. How long will this take? Months, maybe a year. He's going to drag this out, hoping you'll settle just to make it go away. I stared at the documents. $132,000. Every cent I'd given him, now weaponized. There's one more thing, Ellen said. He's also claiming that the accounts you closed were joint assets, even though the bank records clearly show you as the sole owner. He's arguing that 8 years of access established co-ownership. That's insane. It is, but it's in the filing. I stood up. What do you need from me? All your records, every bank statement, every transfer, every piece of documentation showing that you were the sole account holder and that Mason was only an authorized user. I have all of that. Good. Bring it to me tomorrow. We'll build a counter case that will bury this. I left her office and drove home. That night, I pulled out every file, every folder, every record, 8 years of documentation, every payment I'd made, every transfer, every time I'd bailed him out. I organized it all, chronologically, by category, by account. The pattern was undeniable. Mason had taken everything and given nothing, and now he wanted more. The next morning, I delivered everything to Ellen. "This is perfect," she said. "We'll use this to show that not only was there no implied contract, but that Mason was unjustly enriched by your generosity for years." What happens next? We file our response. We countersue for the cost of defending this frivolous lawsuit, and we wait. How long? The preliminary hearing is in 6 weeks. 6 weeks passed. I went to work, came home, lived my life. But something had shifted. Mason wasn't just refusing to grow up anymore. He was attacking me. The preliminary hearing was on a Wednesday morning. I sat in the courtroom next to Ellen. Mason sat across the aisle with his lawyer. Marina wasn't there. The judge reviewed the filings. "Mr. Jossman," she said, looking at Mason, "you're claiming that your father established a binding financial commitment by supporting you for 8 years?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And you're seeking $132,000? "Yes, Your Honor. That's the amount he gave me over the years. I believe it was an advance on my inheritance, and he had no right to cut me off." The judge turned to me. "Mr. Jossman, what's your response?" Ellen stood. "Your Honor, this is a frivolous lawsuit. Mr. Jossman is under no legal obligation to support his adult son. The money in question was given as gifts, not loans. There was no contract, implied or otherwise." "Your Honor," Mason's lawyer interrupted, "we have documentation showing a clear pattern of financial support spanning 8 years. That establishes an expectation." The judge looked at Ellen. "Do you have documentation showing the accounts in question were solely owned by your client?" Ellen handed over the records. Every account was in Tainer Jossman's name. Mason Jossman was listed only as an authorized user, which is a revocable privilege, not a right. The judge reviewed the documents for several minutes. Then she looked at Mason. "Mr. Jossman, do you have any documentation showing co-ownership of these accounts?" Mason's lawyer shuffled through papers. "We have evidence of access, Your Honor." "Access is not ownership. Do you have documentation showing your client as a co-owner?" "No, Your Honor, but..." "Then this case is dismissed. Mr. Tainer Jossman had every legal right to revoke access to his own accounts. There is no basis for a claim of owed inheritance or implied contract." She turned to me. "Mr. Jossman, you're free to go. I'm also awarding you attorney's fees and court costs." Mason stood up. "Your Honor, please, we're done here." The gavel came down. I walked out of the courtroom with Ellen. "That's it?" I asked. "That's it. He'll get the bill for your legal fees in about a week." "How much?" "About $12,000. I stopped walking. $12,000? "Yes. And he's responsible for all of it." We walked to the parking garage. "Thank you, Ellen." "Any time. And Tainer? You did the right thing. All of it." I drove home. That evening I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine. The sun was setting. The air was cool. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Dad, please don't hang up." "Mason, what do you want?" "I'm sorry about the lawsuit. I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do." "You tried to sue me for money I gave you out of kindness." "I know. It was wrong." "You're now responsible for $12,000 in legal fees." "I know. My lawyer told me." "How are you going to pay that?" "I don't know. I'll figure something out." "Like you've been figuring everything else out?" Silence. "Mason, you've had a year and a half to grow up, to take responsibility. Instead, you sued me. You tried to use the legal system to force me to keep supporting you." "I was wrong." "Yes, you were. And now you get to live with the consequences." "Dad, please, I need help." "No. I can't pay $12,000. I'll lose everything." "You should have thought about that before you filed the lawsuit." "Dad," I hung up, blocked the number, set the phone on the table, and picked up my wine glass, took a long sip. The sunset was beautiful, orange and pink streaking across the sky. I'd won. Not just the lawsuit, not just the money. I'd won my freedom, my peace, my life back. Mason had tried everything: manipulation, guilt, therapy, legal action, and he'd failed every single time, because I'd finally learned to say no, and mean it. I finished my wine, stood up, and walked inside, closed the door behind me, locked it, and smiled.